Hi, and welcome to week 2 of developmental psychology. This week, we're going to be talking about the first level of development in prenatal and conception. So, let's start with talking about the objectives for this week. One would be to explain how conception occurs, what causes multiple births, be able to describe the mechanisms of heredity in normal and abnormal human development, and be able to explain how heredity and environment interact in human development. Additionally, to be able to describe prenatal development, including environmental influences and how those influences work interrelatedly, and discuss the high importance of high quality prenatal care and the implications when those things are not provided. Development starts at conception as sperm and egg meet, an entirely new individual is created. Fertilization is the process by which the sperm and ovum, the male and female sex cells, combine to create a single cell called a zygote. When speaking of multiple births, the term dizygotic twins or fraternal twins are twins that are conceived by two different ova, two different eggs with two different sperm. They are no more genetically alike than any other siblings. Monozygotic twins, identical twins, are twins resulting from the division of a single zygote after fertilization. They are genetically similar. In the United States, multiple birth rates grew rapidly between 1980 and 2020 due to a trend toward delayed childbearing and an increased use of fertility drugs. The rise was associated with related risks such as pregnancy complications, premature delivery, lower birth weight, and infant disability and death. In this figure, we see DNA. DNA is the genetic material in all living cells. It consists of 4 chemical units called bases, and these bases are the letters of the DNA alphabet. A is for adenine, pairs with T, thymine, and C, cytosine, pairs with G, guanine. There are 3 billion base pairs in human DNA. The double helix structure of a DNA molecule resembles a long, spiraling ladder whose steps are made of base pairs. Deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, is the chemical that carries inherited instructions for the development of all cellular life forms. The genetic code is the sequence of bases within the DNA molecule. It governs the formation of proteins that determine the structure and functions of living cells. Chromosomes are coils of DNA that consist of segments called genes. The complete sequence of genes in the human body constitutes the human genome. As cells divide, sometimes a mistake in copying is made, resulting in a permanent alteration in genes, referred to as a mutation. At conception, the 23 chromosomes of the sperm and 23 from the ovum form 23 pairs. 22 pairs are autosomes, which are not related to sexual expression. The 23rd pair are sex chromosomes, one from the father and one from the mother, that govern the baby's sex. In this figure, we can see that X from mother and X from father forms baby girl. X from mother and Y from father forms baby boy. Father has an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, and a mother has 2 X chromosomes. Boys receive an X chromosome from the mother and a Y chromosome from the father. Girls receive X chromosomes from both mother and father. Genes that can produce alternative expressions of a characteristic, like hair color, are called alleles. When both alleles are the same, the person is homozygous for the characteristic. When they are different, the person is heterozygous. In dominant inheritance, the dominant allele is always expressed, meaning it shows up as a trait in that person. In recessive inheritance, the person must have 2 recessive alleles, one from each parent. Relatively few traits are determined in this simple fashion. Most traits result from polygenic inheritance, which is interaction of many genes. A phenotype is the observable characteristic of a person. A genotype is the genetic makeup of the person containing both expressed and unexpressed characteristics. Certain complex traits, such as intelligence, result from multifactorial transmission, which is a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Epigenesis refers to the turning on and off of genes by the developing body or when triggered by the environment. Epigenetic changes can occur throughout life in response to environmental factors such as nutrition, smoking, sleep habits, stress, and physical activity, contributing to certain ailments such as cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. So again, those epigenetic changes can occur throughout life in response to different environmental factors such as nutrition, smoking, sleep habits, stress, and physical activity. And environmental influences can be social in nature. Most birth disorders are fairly rare, affecting only about 3% of live births. Nevertheless, they are the leading cause of infant death in the United States. The most prevalent abnormality is Down syndrome, followed by cleft lip or cleft palate. Sometimes a gene is dominant for an abnormal trait, such as Huntington's disease. Dominant defects are less likely to be lethal. Recessive defects are expressed only if the child is homozygous for that gene. Recessive defects tend to be lethal. Incomplete dominance is a pattern of inheritance in which a child receives two different alleles, resulting in a phenotype that is a partial expression of a trait. In this figure, we can see the carrier mother has XX chromosomes and the normal father has XY. The dominant X from the mother and dominant Y from the father result in a typical male with XY chromosomes. The dominant X from the mother and the dominant X from the father result in a typical male with XX chromosomes. The recessive X from the mother and dominant Y from the father results in an affected male with XY chromosomes with X as a recessive abnormal gene. The recessive X from the mother and dominant X from the father results in a carrier female with XX chromosomes with one X as a recessive abnormal gene. Chromosomal abnormalities are typically due to errors in cell division leading to an extra or missing chromosome. Down syndrome, which is the most common chromosomal abnormality in the United States, are due to an extra 21st chromosome in about 95% of cases. Genetic counseling can help prospective parents assess their risk of bearing children with genetic or chromosomal defects. A karyotype is a photographic chart showing chromosomal abnormalities that indicate risk of transmission to a child. Geneticists have made great contributions to the avoidance of birth defects. Nature and nurture. The goal of behavioral genetics is determining the relative influence of heredity and environment on traits. Heritability is a statistical estimate of the contribution of heredity to individual differences in a specific trait. Concordance refers to the tendency of twins to share the same trait or disorder. Twin studies, when twins are reared together, and adoption studies, when twins are reared apart, help researchers determine heritability, with the controlled piece being the environment. Many developmental scientists regard heredity and environment as fundamentally intertwined. Reaction range refers to potential variability of a trait, such as body size, depending on environmental conditions. Traits vary in reaction range. Canalization places a limitation on variance of expression of certain inherited characteristics. The environment reflects or reinforces genetics. Passive correlations occur when biological parents provide a gene for a trait and provide an encouraging environment for that trait. For example, if a parent was genetically predisposed to substance use, they might create an environment where substances are more readily accessible or normalize their use. Reactive correlations refer to children with different genetic makeups evoking different reactions from others. For example, an adolescent with a genetic predisposition to impulsivity might evoke reactions from family members, teachers, and peers that reinforce their disruptive tendencies. Active correlations refer to niche picking. Older children freely select environments consistent with their genetic tendencies. For example, a child with a musical inclination might actively seek out music lessons and opportunities to practice. But what makes siblings so different? Children may live in the same family, but their experiences are not always identical. Non-shared environmental effects are the unique environments that influence each child differently, including parent and sibling interactions, in illnesses, accidents, and varying experiences outside the home. Let's transition into talking about prenatal development. Gestation refers to the period between conception and birth. The normal range is between 37 and 41 weeks. Gestational age is usually dated from the first day of an expected mother's last menstrual cycle. Cephalocaudal principle is the development that occurs from head to lower part of the body. Proximodistal principle is the development that occurs from the center of the body outward. There are 3 stages of prenatal development: germinal, embryonic, and fetal. The germinal stage is from fertilization to the first 2 weeks, characterized by rapid cell division and duplication. The zygote travels down the fallopian tube and enters the uterus as a blastocyst, where it completes the task of implantation on the uterine wall and continues to develop. The embryonic stage is the second stage of gestation from week 2 to week 8 and is characterized by rapid growth and development of major body systems and organs. Risk of spontaneous abortion or miscarriage is highest in this stage. The fetal stage is the final stage of gestation and lasts from 8 weeks till birth. It is characterized by increased differentiation of body parts and greatly enlarged body size. High-frequency sound waves in an ultrasound can detect the outline of a fetus and its movements. Teratogens are environmental agents that can interfere with normal development. Some examples are nutrition and maternal weight gain, malnutrition, the use of drugs, alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine, maternal illnesses, maternal age, anxiety, stress, and depression, and other outside environmental hazards. Abnormal or poor quality sperm may result from lead exposure, marijuana or tobacco smoke, large amounts of alcohol or radiation, pesticides, high ozone levels, and advanced age. There are multiple ways that we monitor and promote prenatal development. There's an array of tools that have been developed to be able to assess an unborn baby's progress and well-being. Some examples of this are amniocentesis, chorionic viral sampling, embryoscopy and fetoscopy, maternal blood tests, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, ultrasound, and umbilical cord sampling. We know that prenatal care is very important, but there is not equal access. In the United States, prenatal care is widespread, but lacks uniform national standards. Rates of low birth weight and premature birth continue to rise, possibly due to an increase in multiple births and an uneven distribution of prenatal care. After adjusting for risk factors, the chances of perinatal deaths are 3.55 times higher for Black women than for white women. Care should be given before pregnancy to identify preventable risks. Preconception care consists of physical examinations and vaccinations, risk screening for genetic disorders and infectious diseases, and counseling to avoid smoking and alcohol use, proper weight management, and ingestion of folic acid supplements. When we look at prenatal care around the world, approximately 140 million babies are born worldwide each year. About 800 women die each day from childbirth-related complications, and most of those deaths occur in low-resource areas. Standards of prenatal care are not equal worldwide. An estimated 2 million babies were stillborn during 2020. All women need access to prenatal care, education, family planning, and support during pregnancy and the weeks following childbirth. There is also disparity in the experiences that women have during childbirth. Childbirth trauma is rarely discussed, and research is just beginning to explore its implications. When we look at childbirth trauma and PTSD reactions in Black mothers, Black women are more likely to feel that their life, physical safety, and/or well-being, or that of their child, are being threatened. In the United States, Black women have the highest rate of adverse birth outcomes. We need to do a better job of increasing access and improving the experience of childbirth across all experiences in all women in the United States.